Howdy, folks. Welcome to the Daily Coin. My name is Rory, and today is Thursday, October 31st, 2019, and I certainly appreciate everybody tuning in. I've got just a real quick update on something that has come to light. If you guys have been following my work for any length of time, then you know that I've been looking at India and I keep a check on what's going on with India and gold in particular. And I've got just like I said, a quick update on something that has just come to light, and I think that it's pretty cool. And I hope that you find it to be the same as I do. I got saying, if you've been following my work, I mean, I've been looking at India, especially the smuggling aspect of it. And a few years ago, when India first attempted the gold bond scheme, and they actually called it a scheme, and the people of India scoffed at it, and they wound up with about 20 tons, I think, something like that, of gold from a couple of the temples, where they were trying to get people to take this bond that would pay interest on their gold. So very few people took them up on this scheme, and can't say that I blame them. And then a couple of years ago, back in 2016, they the Indian government did something that they shouldn't have done, which was to take their currency, and they destroyed the 500 rupee and the 1,000 rupee, which is the equivalent. The 1,000's worth was the equivalent of about $15 US, and the 500 is about 750 US. These were two largest bills in circulation. The lie was that they did this for the specific purpose of eliminating, all of this, getting all of this counterfeit currency, all of the drug money, they did it to get rid of the corrupt currency, and that was the lie that they told the people, and we're going to get to that in just a minute. But this gold smuggling has been the bane of India for um, a very long time, hundreds of years, maybe even 1,000 or more years. It's been part of what they do, and it's estimated that there's 25,000 tons of gold in the hands of the citizens of India. I mean, that is an enormous amount of gold. These people have zero confidence in their government. But with the two schemes that I just described, and this currency scheme that they did in 2016, there were people literally dying as they stood in line to go to the bank to trade their banknotes, because that was where you had to take them in. And it was it's incredible. So the people, they just didn't they have no confidence in their government. They have no confidence in their currency at all. And that shows in the fact that they hold gold the way that they do. And gold smuggling in India, this was something that I was asking about just in the past month or so. And who keeps the confiscated gold? And this is causing some real issues for me, because they take in. First of all, what is illegal gold? I mean, is the gold that my local coin dealer where does that gold come from? Is it smuggled in? Is it illegal? I mean, he, it's not. It's currency. I mean, it's money. Gold is money. But anyway, so I'm really struggling with this whole idea of why gold has to be smuggled in to a country. But a few weeks ago, I wrote this article about the gold smuggling, and who gets it, and where does it go once the Indian government identifies it as being quote illegal end quote gold, and they had identified in the first half of 2019 between 40 and 50 tons of illegal gold. The first problem is that they can't even identify it down to the number of tons that they claim they have confiscated. 10 tons of gold is a very large discrepancy, especially when you're talking about 40 tons. That's a 25% discrepancy in the number of tons of gold. That's a lot. It's a lot. It's a very significant number. But then they go on to say later in this article that I was picking apart, they get down to, as you can see, that they get it down to fractions of a percent. We're able to look at, fractions of a kilo and fractions of a percent, but yet they somehow can't get to within 10 tons of how much has been smuggled in to India in the first 6 months. So that's the first red flag. The second red flag is, where does all this gold go? Who's accounting for it once the Indian government takes possession of it? It's not put on their books because they're under the official gold, because that official gold is not going up and down. What's reported into the IMF, what the Reserve Bank of India, the RBI, what the Reserve Bank of India was reporting into the IMF doesn't fluctuate. And in 2018, they had nearly 100 tons of gold that were supposedly uh, confiscated. And once again, this is according to their quote official numbers. And I pay attention to these uh, gold fluctuations at the central bank level, because that's where we're going to see the biggest change in the gold market. So the World Gold Council is telling us that India had 100 tons of gold coming and going in the as far as confiscated gold, but it's not being reported anywhere. Where's this being held? And so I started trying to find information about how does this gold handled, and the only thing that I could find was an article from 2014, I think 2016. It's a few years old, and 2014. There it is. This report is from 2014, and it claims that what they do is they hold the gold and then they sell it back into the market, and the currency that it generates, the funds that it generates, goes into, and this is in Bangladesh, this is not India, but my guess is that, and there was nothing on India, which is why I had to use the example of Bangladesh. They're neighbors, they're next door to each other, so I'm hoping that that this sheds at least some light on it, but who knows? I mean, who knows? Because I couldn't find anything. If somebody's got information on it, please put it in the comment section, because it would be very helpful. Because I'm not able to find anything on what's actually happening with this uh, confiscated gold that the Indian government winds up with. And 100 tons of gold is a lot of gold. Sorry, that is a lot of gold that's being unaccounted for. And it's not on any official ledgers that are being reported. And if it is, I'm not seeing it. That these are serious issues that if I'm having as an American looking outside looking in, imagine what the people of India are. I'm sure that they see it in the same manner. It's like, wait a minute, what's going on here? So, and all of this ties into the fact that India also is looking at opening up a physical gold exchange. They haven't. There was an announcement made last year, I believe, in 2018, and there's been very little information come out since. but you have all of these other gold platforms that I've discussed on the Gadfly and with Chris Marcus, and uh, this article was published over at Zero Hedge, and Brandon Smith over at Alt Market, he picked it up as well, and so this has gotten some traction. So you've probably seen this and are familiar with the questions that I'm presenting in this, but it ties into what's going on with the other with what's happening in India and their gold, and the reason for this conversation is the fact that India last month in September, they reported that they picked up 8.46 tons of gold. And this is the first time since November of 2009 that India has added any gold to their reserves at all. And if you remember, a couple of years ago or 3 years ago, China asked India as a member of the Belt and Road Initiative to add more gold to their reserves, and that's when the paper gold scheme, the gold bond scheme, was born. Then, and now there's a new scheme that they're trying, and it's these guys. They are relentless. So it seems as if India has given into the pressure and are now just going out into the open market and buying gold for the central bank because they're gonna need it. They're gonna need it. It's just that simple. If they're gonna be part of the Belt and Road, if they're gonna be part of the BRICS, and if you remember, discussed recently the BRICS gold exchange that's being built in Beijing and Moscow for the specific purpose of assisting the other nations of the BRICS alliance, India, Brazil, and South Africa, for them to get their gold um, hoard up. They need more gold because that's going to be part of the exchange. I'm not saying that that's going to be the only way that they're going to be making payments to one another, but it seems like this foundation is being built. And that's just speculation on my part, but it makes sense. And here's the crux of the problem. This is the reason for this video, is because this was published just today, and this is the Indian government mulls gold amnesty plan. This is a piece of work. I am here to tell you these guys are they are over the top. Over the top. Government is exploring the possibility of floating a gold amnesty scheme, there's that word again, under which voluntary disclosure of gold will be regularized after paying a certain amount of tax. In other words, you tell them how much gold that you have, and then they will say, well, you owe us this much tax. Well, most people aren't going to do that. Reports say this scheme will set a threshold for gold beyond which holdings will be taxed, though there has been no confirmation from the government on the proposal or on the contours of the scheme. They like that word scheme. I don't like it. They like it, but it's ludicrous. The scheme is likely to set a threshold for gold holdings, and individuals may have to make disclosures above that level. After the scheme closes, the penalty will be imposed only on unaccounted gold beyond the prescribed limit. This imaginary limit that they are setting. So, if you and your family say you have, 25 ounces of gold, 30 ounces of gold, 50 ounces of gold, whatever it is. And the government says, well, you can have up to 10 ounces of gold. So what happens to everything that's over that threshold? Where are they going to confiscate that? I wouldn't trust them to not do that. The Modi government has been trying to dissuade the public from holding gold, having launched a sovereign gold bond scheme that I was talking about just a minute ago that aims at reducing physical demand while raising the customs on duty on the yellow metal in the current budget to 12.5% from 10%. This is the reason that India constantly has massive amounts of smuggling, is because the gold that comes in through the official channels is taxed beyond belief. This is currency. Gold is money. Gold is money, and they're taxing money. It's ridiculous. So, according to the World Gold Council, well, wait a minute. India imports between 800 tons and 900 tons of the yellow metal every year, and estimates say the stock with domestic households is over 25,000 tons. That means that the populace of India has more than 25,000 tons. I can believe that. I can believe that that is probably a low number. According to the World Gold Council, consumption of gold jewelry in the country stood at almost 167 tons in the second quarter of 2019, and purchase of bars and coins for investment at 44.5 tons. It's a lot of gold, and especially if we're just talking about one quarter. So that's a lot. These folks are getting after it. They are getting after it. In November 2016, the government had scrapped the 500 rupee and the 1,000 rupee notes to unearth black money. And this is where it gets really interesting. However, 99.3% of those notes returned back were returned back to the banking system. In other words, they were trying to expose this black market hoard of cash, and they exposed exactly 0.7% of everything that they took in. And here's the other part, that is, this is why the people of India get so upset and do the things that they do and have zero trust in their government, is because what they did, what it yielded, that 0.7% yielded exactly 29,000 rupees. Okay, so if we take 1,000 rupees, and that's $15 US. So if we take 29,000 and multiply that by 15, that means that they got a whopping 435,000 equivalent US dollars. Hello, the Indian government probably spent more than that just to put this whole project together. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And like I said, I know that there were people that were dying, literally lost their life while they stood in line to return these uh, banknotes back to the bank to get the ones that the that Modi had determined this is the new currency. You got to bring in the old, get the new, and it generated a whopping 29,000 rupees or 435,000 US. Ridiculous. I mean, it's incredible. So this is the latest scheme by these scumbags that uh, they're trying to get the people's gold. You come in, you tell us how much gold you have. We're going to tax that gold, and then once you breach we're going to tax it at a rate that we haven't told you yet. And then once you breach the amount of gold that we say that you can hold, which we haven't told you that either, then we'll take it from there, and it's going to be good. It's going to be great. It's going to be great for you. It's going to be great for the country. It's going to be great all around. Unicorns and rainbows as far as the eye can see. Just tell us how much gold you have, so we can get an idea of how much gold we have in the country. So we can get an idea, and it's ludicrous. It's called a scheme for a reason. It's not going to work. It didn't. The gold bond scheme didn't work. This is not going to work. The only thing that's going to work is if the government starts working for the people instead of working against the people. So This is a great article. It was published by the TelegraphIndia.com, TelegraphIndia.com. So you can read it all the details for yourself if you'd like. It's right there on the screen though. So it's incredible what these guys are doing. They're never ever going to learn, it seems. So, but they're going to keep trying. They're going to keep trying. So, but that's what I have for you guys today. Hope all is well. Everybody take care, and I will talk with you soon.